when I stand up to speak, particularly about poverty, take interventions from another source. I take it from my mum. She will text me because she will now be sitting at home and watching the TV because she knows that I'm going to be talking about my upbringing. She knows I'm going to be talking about growing up in poverty, caring for her and my father who were disabled, forced out of work because the NHS and the social security system was nowhere to be seen when they needed it. And I know that she's going to text, as she does always, to say, I'm sorry, I did my best. Because she doesn't always realise that poverty is systemic. It's about society and the structures we build. She internalises the shame and the guilt. She feels like she didn't do enough. And I also fear, frankly, from listening to some of the debate today, that she's going to ask me a further question, which is why are some of those MPs suggesting or saying that I'm a scrounger, that I'm a dependent person on the welfare system. Now, I don't think members of Parliament intend to create that impression, but they should know that the consequence of what they say is to perpetuate the shame and the stigma of poverty that is impossible to eradicate in one's lifetime and is passed on from one generation to the next. And it's why I stood for Parliament. It's why I am here to try and tackle child poverty so that the people of Bournemouth East, the constituency that I represent, do not have to grow up with the same kind of childhood that I had, living without very much, relying on the love of a mum and dad who would sacrifice everything to get you to where they think you need to be, when you should be able to, when they should be able to depend on a wider social security system. So I would ask members today to reflect on the language that they use, because the outside world is watching, and I will give way.
I thank the honourable member for giving way. I wonder if he would agree with me that his mum and dad did a brilliant job bringing him up, that mums and dads in all sorts of circumstances do their level best in bringing up their kids, and that they are proud, as his parents no doubt are of him, of the job that they have done and the contribution that their children make, and that your circumstances of birth do not define who you are going to become.
I thank my friend for that intervention. I always agree with her. And I always agree when she says I should agree with my mum. So I thank her for that. And I agree that nobody's background should shape their future. Actually, we are here to create a better social security system, a better NHS, better public services, so that children today in all of our constituencies can access the support that they need in the way that they need, so they can truly thrive. And so it does deeply sadden me that in my own constituency of Bournemouth East, I have children growing up in poverty. 27% of children in my constituency are growing up in relative poverty. 43% in the ward of Boscombe West, 36% in the ward of Springbourne. That is unacceptable in 2025 in modern Britain. We should not be putting up with this. But when I look out further than my constituency, a near record 2.8 million people are out of work due to long-term sickness, thrown in the scrap heap. 300,000 people falling out of work every year because of their health, and we know part of the reason for that is the underfunding of our public services, which leave people on waiting lists, and waiting lists kill. We know too that 4.5 million people, 4.5 million children are in relative poverty after housing costs, up 900,000 since 2010. We know that the Tories presided over the worst Parliament ever recorded for economic inactivity. That rose by over 800,000, up 9.4 million people. So we can hear from the opposite benches about the connection between work and welfare. Yes, we can. But when there's a presiding over such economic inactivity, such poor productivity, such sluggish growth, is it any wonder that we have... I will not be taking an intervention. Is it any wonder as a consequence that we have people who are in significant difficulty, particularly when the social security and the public services that they rely upon have been chopped back? So I welcome the launch of the Child Poverty Task Force as an early priority of this government. I was pleased to meet with the Minister just last week to talk about my priorities, which include trying to make sure that play is not squeezed out of childhood, and that we do have a social security system to meet the needs of children, particularly in those disadvantaged areas of my constituency. I will give way.
I thank my honourable colleague from Dorset for giving way. He talks about the issues outside of his constituency of Bournemouth, and he doesn't have to look far, only to Dorset West, to see some of the inequalities in play. And he'll know from our beautiful part of the countryside that delivering services in rural Britain for access to affordable healthcare is even more difficult due to the sparsity of population, and makes it even more important that we support those most vulnerable members of our community.
I thank the honourable member. He invites me to champion his work, and I think I won't do that, but I will acknowledge the hard work and commitment that he's putting in, and I'm pleased that he's a colleague. That Child Poverty Task Force is going to be critical. The report that it brings forward, based on the feedback from all of the members of this House, all of our civil society organisations, will be so important. So I'm glad that we are spending the time to get this right. It will be a once-in-a-generation opportunity to truly tackle the root causes of child poverty. And I'm pleased too that, although we have launched that task force, this government is cracking on with the hard work. Just this week, seeing the announcement of the Better Futures Fund, £500 million from this government to be matched by £500 million from local government and from the private sector, in total a £1 billion fund that will make a huge difference. Similarly, that we're providing free school meals for all children in families on universal credit. I know that will make a significant impact to my constituents. And I think we should talk more about this, a revamped Sure Start. We know that bringing back a revamped Sure Start, with the money being given to it in all of our local authority areas, will be able to spot some of the hardships, the physical and mental health issues that arise from poverty, to be able to tackle those root causes, but also tackle the symptoms too. To be able to give children a chance to grow, to play, to learn from each other, to develop with peer support, for their parents who have been starved of parenting support, and to the Conservatives to learn from each other and to be able to get what they need. So we have a long way to go to reverse the decline caused by the Conservatives. We have a long way to go to lift as many kids out of poverty as possible. But together, I believe across this House, we all have the solutions, and I hope that we can take forward this debate in the right way and we can lift those kids out of poverty.